Arnold Thackray, Moore's Law, The Life of Gordon Moore, Silicon Valley's Quiet Revolutionary. Embark on a fascinating journey into the life of Gordon Moore, the man behind the revolutionary Moore's Law, in Moore's Law, The Life of Gordon Moore, Silicon Valley's Quiet Revolutionary, by Arnold Thackray. This book summary takes you through Moore's early life as a passionate chemist and his consequential contribution in the development of transistors and microchips. Witness the extraordinary accomplishments of Moore and his partners that shaped the future of computing, and learn how this technology became the core innovation in modern electronics. Delve into a world of prediction and innovation that has propelled Moore's unyielding drive to excel in his field.
Gordon Moore, the man behind Moore's Law. Discover the life and passions of Gordon Moore, the man who shaped the future of technology with his famous law. Gordon Moore's incredible intelligence and analytical mind led him to his lifelong vocation in science. At the age of 11, his experimentation with explosives marked the beginning of his love for chemistry, which would eventually shape his contributions to the tech industry. He was far ahead of his peers in high school, taking advanced chemistry lessons, and making a name for himself with his ideas. But chemistry wasn't the only explosive thing in his life. He met Betty Irene Whittaker, a journalism major and outgoing personality, who became his wife. Her vivaciousness and his quiet confidence made for an intriguing pair. Moore went on to shape the future of technology with his famous Moore's Law, which predicted the exponential growth of computational power. This visionary idea became the bedrock of technological innovation and shaped the course of human progress. Discover the man behind the law and the passions that fueled his brilliance. Gordon Moore, the influences behind his seminal work. Gordon Moore's journey to discovering Moore's Law started with his enrollment at Berkeley University, which was becoming a hub of academic science in the 1940s due to the booming economy in California. He was influenced by his professors, particularly George Jura, who taught him the significance of original research and introduced him to glassblowing. Moore's seminary work was known for its studiousness, and his reputation soon helped him gain acceptance to the prestigious California Institute of Technology, Caltech. At Caltech, Moore furthered his studies in chemistry while his relationship with Betty Whittaker blossomed, and led to marriage. Gordon Moore's journey to the semiconductor industry. Gordon Moore's background in experimental chemistry and explosives research led him to become a significant figure in the semiconductor industry. When Gordon Moore began his studies at Caltech, he was surrounded by a booming technological era. He excelled in experimental chemistry under Professor Richard McLean Badger, focusing on nitrogen compounds which were being used in the Korean War. After completing his PhD, Moore was unable to find a professorship that met his high demands, but Badger suggested he look into the industry instead. Moore eventually landed a position at the Applied Physics Laboratory, which was funded by the Navy at Johns Hopkins University. Despite having to relocate, Moore felt excited about the new opportunity and was eager to experiment independently. Moore's experiences in chemistry and explosives research proved to be valuable in his new position. Over time, Moore became a significant figure in the semiconductor industry, co-founding companies such as Intel and Fairchild Semiconductor. His contributions to the industry ultimately led to the formulation of Moore's Law, which predicts that the number of transistors on a microchip will double every 2 years, revolutionizing the technology industry. Gordon Moore's journey highlights the importance of following one's interests and being open to new opportunities. The Transistor Revolution. In 1947, Bell Labs invented the transistor, a solid material device that could switch signals and amplify signals, making vacuum tubes obsolete and revolutionizing technology. By 1955, the transistor radio became ubiquitous, and over 500,000 transistors were being produced every month in the U.S. William Shockley, one of the inventors of the transistor, needed a skilled chemist for his California laboratory and recruited Moore in 1955. However, despite Moore's confidence, the team struggled to create a transistor that used silicon as a semiconductor, leading to tension. Despite this, the invention of the transistor had already changed the world and would pave the way for countless new technologies. Moore and the Traitorous 8. The story of how Robert Moore and his team, known as the Traitorous 8, left their jobs at Shockley Semiconductor and founded Fairchild Semiconductor. They became the first to develop a fast-switching silicon transistor, which was in high demand for its use in the B-70 Valkyrie bomber. Robert Moore and his team, known as the Traitorous 8, left their jobs at Shockley Semiconductor after struggling to make a breakthrough and feeling dissatisfied. They founded their own company, Fairchild Semiconductor, and secured an investment from IBM's major shareholder, Sherman Fairchild. This new company was born during the same week that Sputnik, the world's first satellite, was launched. Moore saw the potential for their fast-switching silicon transistor to be in even greater demand after the launch of Sputnik. At the time, Texas Instruments had offered a small batch of silicon transistors, but they were not efficient in terms of switching speed. IBM later secured a contract for the B-70 Valkyrie bomber armed with thermonuclear weapons and capable of supersonic speed. The engineers of B-70 needed fast-switching silicon transistors, and they heard of a small startup in California producing it. Moore made sure his team came first by focusing intently on producing the fast-switching silicon transistor. They succeeded a year after founding the company and called the transistor the ZN696. In a striking move, Gordon, one of Moore's team members, went to the grocery store to buy the nicest container he could find, a Brillo box. This was to send the transistors to IBM. Moore and the Traitorous 8 made a daring move in founding Fairchild Semiconductor and became the first to develop a fast-switching silicon transistor. They did so during a time when other companies such as Texas Instruments and Bell Labs were also researching the technology. The successful creation of the transistor propelled the group and the company to new heights. Moore's Law. In the late 1950s, the idea of integrating multiple components onto a single chip seemed impractical due to the high cost of technology. However, Robert Noyce, the co-founder of Fairchild Semiconductor Corporation, realized the potential of integrated circuits and founded Micrologic, a division of Fairchild. Microchips produced by Micrologic were later selected by NASA for the Apollo program, thanks to their smaller size and higher complexity. Then in 1965, Noyce published an article predicting that the number of transistors on a microchip would double every year while manufacturing costs would have each year. This prediction became known as Moore's Law and proved to be accurate. By 1975, there were 65,000 transistors on a single microchip, an exponential growth that led to an increase in computational power. Moore's Law continues to be an essential concept in the technology industry, and it still holds true to this day. New memory storage technology. In 1968, Moore and Noyce sought to find a new market for memory processing capabilities. They were joined by Joel Karp, who created Intel's 1101 memory microchip, leading them to enter the emerging memory market. Later, Dov Frohman introduced EPROMs, reprogrammable memory chips that retained data even when powered off. Moore quickly realized their potential, put them on the market, and EPROM sales became Intel's main cash flow between 1972 and 1985. Lessons from Intel's failure in the electronic watch market. The early 1970s were a tough time for the US economy, but not for Intel. The company saw potential in the emerging electronic watch market and invested heavily in Microma, a business producing LCD wristwatches. However, the investment led to failure as Microma's products had technical issues and couldn't compete with Texas Instruments. This taught Intel's co-founder, Gordon Moore, that consumer goods require more than technical knowledge about microchips, they demand a different approach. Moore and his partner eventually found success in the personal computer industry by producing the rest of the kit alongside each new chip. Revolutionizing computing with microprocessors. Intel, a once highly profitable company in the computer memory industry, faced a decline in profitability in the face of competition from Japanese manufacturers in the late 1970s. However, Intel's co-founder Gordon Moore realized the potential of microprocessors, which were just entering the market at the time. Moore invested heavily in research and development to keep up with the competition and revolutionized the industry with the 386 microprocessor, which boasted unprecedented computational power. Additionally, the collaboration between Intel and Microsoft produced the DeskPro 386, which would dominate the PC world for the next 25 years. Thanks to Moore's foresight and investments, microprocessors became a universal part of computing and shaped the future of technology. The rise and dominance of Intel. Learn how Intel became a multi-billion-dollar corporation dominating the microprocessor market and how founder Gordon Moore retired to philanthropy. The invention of computers brought drastic changes to the world, and Intel quickly realized that microprocessors were the driving force behind this change. In the 1990s, 40% of a typical U.S. citizen's day was spent in front of a screen, thanks to Intel's dominant market position in the microprocessor industry. The company's hold on the market forced it to leave the memory market and focus solely on microprocessors. Other companies failed to compete due to the industry's enormous budget demands and demands for complex processors. By the mid-1990s, Intel had claimed over 80% of the PC microprocessors market share, which it still holds today. Although Intel managed to become a multi-billion-dollar corporation that releases more complex microprocessors year after year, Gordon Moore, its founder, decided to retire from the company. In retirement, Moore turned to philanthropy, making significant contributions to Caltech and other educational institutions. Forbes magazine named him the most charitable person in 2005, an honor previously only held by individuals like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. As microprocessor technology approaches the level of individual atoms, it becomes clear that another game changer is needed, as even Moore's law is nearing its physical limitations. The question remains, who will be the next Gordon Moore?
In conclusion, Gordon Moore's journey from precocious child to a revered pioneer in the field of computing has been nothing less than astonishing. His immeasurable contribution to the semiconductor industry, driven by his insatiable curiosity and passion for chemistry, made him one of the most influential figures in the technology world. Moore's law, a fitting testament to his visionary ability, has guided the industry for decades. Despite facing numerous challenges along the way, not only did Moore establish a dominant presence in the microprocessor market, but he also contributed massively to philanthropy. As we reach the physical boundaries of Moore's law, the world eagerly awaits the next visionary to lead the charge.